Hi, everyone. This week, you're going to focus on Chapter 11, the chapters regarding sexual orientation. And so, in this particular chapter, you are going to consider some of the theories that try to explain why some people are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. You'll also be asked to consider the social construction of gender and sexual orientation, as well as society's response to difference in sexual orientation. There's also some information in this chapter about how homosexuality and members of the LGBTQ community are treated in other countries and how other countries perceive members of the LGBTQ community. Also, in this chapter, you're going to participate in a blog discussion about the ban on transgenders serving in the military. That is a policy that President Trump implemented shortly after he took office. It had been put on hold by federal courts, but recently the ban was allowed to move forward pending a possible review by the Supreme Court. And that has had unfortunate ramifications for some members of the military who were not able to get the proper documentation in time that would allow them to be grandfathered in. You'll also be writing just a brief paper, 3-4 page paper, in regard to how religion influences how we think and feel about the LGBTQ community. As well as see a documentary that is entitled Growing Up Trans. There's not a whole lot of information in this text about non-binary individuals, and that is, of course, a classification that is protected here in California. Under state law in California, if you want to, you can get your birth certificate, your license, any official documents recreated by the state of California if you are now identifying as non-binary. Of course, that could not have been known when you were born. Obviously, the doctors looked at your genitalia and decided you were either this or that, but we know today that not everyone identifies as a cisgender heterosexual individual. And so non-binary is a newer classification that many people are adopting. And again, here in California, we have legal protections for those individuals. In other states, not so much. And so that is unfortunate. And we do not have a federal law that protects people in the LGBTQ community from discrimination. There is a case that will likely be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court in regard to whether or not Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is inclusive of the LGBTQ community. There are some people who argue that the language should be read to include this community. And of course, there are others who argue no, if Congress wanted to include sexual orientation, they would have said sexual orientation, that sex does not mean sexual orientation. So keep an eye out on that case. As I said, it is likely to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. Constitutional issues like this usually do. And so that will be interesting to see how this current U.S. Supreme Court decides that particular issue. So all in all, I think this is a really interesting chapter. I think that you will enjoy reading it and learning. If you are a member of the LGBTQ community, I hope that you will come away from reading the chapter and studying the materials and thinking that at least a decent job was done of informing people about your community. If you are not a member of the LGBTQ community, I hope that you will come away with a greater understanding and acceptance of people who are a member of this particular community. So I will see you next week.